Yeah, this goes along with the teaching as far as getting the unleavened out of us.
Getting the leaven out of you, not the unleavened.
Getting the leaven out of us. And like you said, it has a lot to do with us sowing from the flesh. And I kind of want to get your opinion on sowing correctly. How can we do that?
Well, it goes back to the things we said at the very end. You know, it's going to take study and prayer and really discipleship, okay? Because you learn how to sow. Let's say we're talking about sowing like in a field. Well, if I took some of you that grew up all your lives in a city and I handed you a field and a property and I said, go grow some crops, okay? It has something to do with seeds and the dirt. I mean, I wouldn't know. I've never been a farmer. But you might find somebody to mentor you in how you sow so that you can do well with your gardening and your farming or whatever you're doing. You know, we provided you with a seed making class so that somebody could mentor you in how to make seed. Anything that you want to do, most of you automatically look for someone who's an expert, or at least they're proficient at whatever it is that you'd like to do. I mean, if you walk by somebody who's got seeds that look like they did it in the sleep in the dark, you might not ask them to show you how to do that. You're going to look for somebody who's proficient to teach you how to do something. So when you're looking to learn how to sow to the spirit and not to the flesh, you might want to find somebody who's done both and learned the difference and can help you understand the difference and start sowing correctly. That's called discipleship. That's all we've been talking about now for months. So it's a good question. But it always comes back to finding someone to help you walk through that process. That's what we started doing at Beth Shalom that you come to now with this men's discipleship program. So that we can talk about all the ways we've sown to the flesh and then how we can start sowing to the spirit and hear the good testimonies and the bad testimonies so we can all learn what works and what doesn't work and what brings the right results. But it takes mentoring, okay? And a lot of the skills, like carpentry and plumbing, etc., electrical, you know, the unions understand that through apprenticeship. Or if you go back into the days, you know, blacksmiths and whatever, masons and carpenters, it was all through an apprenticeship process, right? The expert, the proficient person, the person who really knew what they were doing, would take on students, disciples, apprentices, and train them to do what they do, the way they do it, because they're already very good at it and proficient. And so the same thing works with this.
Kind of on the topic of all that and the men's discipleship thing, one thing that I've actually learned a lot about in the whole vetting out process and stuff like that, when you're vetting out a leader, you have your main leader, and then you can also vet out other parts of the leadership that can help you better with things. There's certain things that I struggle with that I have found. Raymond is the better one. He knows how to talk me through this to where I can understand it better, so I'll go to him to talk about one topic. Or Kurt, or luckily I have my dad in the leadership. I can go, hey, Dad, I'm struggling with this thing in the military. How do I deal with this?
Right.
Where Rabbi Steve, who hasn't been in the military, might not necessarily know how to translate that into the spiritual walk.
That's a great point. And by the way, if you're a good leader, you should know the skill sets and the knowledge sets and the experience sets that your other leaders have, so that if somebody comes to you, you don't feel the burden of trying to figure it out, but you go, you know what? You're better off over there. And by the way, some of you are going to struggle with that because you're going to want me. Because it's somehow in your head, well, he's the head guy, I want him. And you'll think I'm just putting you off when I say, actually, you really ought to talk to, and I'll point to somebody else. I'm not putting you off. I really believe that's the better person for that thing. And so don't think I'm putting you off when I redirect you. I'm redirecting you because it's for you, not for me that I'm redirecting you. It's in your best interest that you go to the person I send you to. Because I really might believe, because of my knowledge of them and their skill sets, that their skill sets are better than mine in that area. You know, some of you have relationship issues that require some understanding of the legal system. Robert's got a very extensive understanding of the legal system because he worked as a director of juvenile probations and adult probations in Chattanooga. Okay, so he knows a lot about what goes on in some of the messed up families and things that can happen in a family and go through those kind of things. So I may tell you, talk to him, not because he's an attorney, but because he can tell you what kind of attorney you might need to talk to or what kind of counseling you might need, whatever it is. He knows about that stuff better than I do. And there's things that I'm learning about all of the leadership that I might redirect you to. So a good point to bring it up, Zarek, because, now, by the way, this is the thing you are not to do. Sorry to get so strong. Don't leadership hop because you didn't like the answer you got. That's different than what Zarek was saying. He's a military guy. Some of our leadership are military guys. And if he's got an issue that's going on in his part of his walk, which is a military walk, I would not be helpful for him. I've never been in the military. So I would redirect somebody like that. You know, you need to talk to, well, in this case, it was Senator Robert, his father's a military guy. That's the whole point. But do not leadership hop because you didn't like the answer, hoping to hear something different. Because the leadership, most of them will tell me that that you contacted them. And when I tell them I've already spoken to you, they'll be like, okay. Because, by the way, they will tell me, just so that I know. Because we don't want leadership hopping going on, or leadership fishing, or whatever it is that you're searching for to get your ear tickled or find the one answer that you're looking for. Okay, let's not do that. Let's not do that. It's a bad idea. It's not good for you. It's not going to help you at all. Because you will find what you're looking for. Maybe not in our leadership. If you don't find it, you'll go find someplace else. But you will find what you're looking for. But that's what you're looking for, not necessarily what you need. Because now you're looking for an answer that you already have the answer. You just want someone to tell you you're right. You already know what you want to hear. You've already figured out, but you know it's probably not right, but you want someone else to tell you it's right so that you can say, oh, well, that person agreed with him, but maybe it is right. Am I making sense? Let's not do that.
So if you examine yourself and find faults and you pray, listen to sermons, you just wait to reap the righteous, correct?
Well, I mean, look, this is a process that's going to take endurance. You know, praying, studying, fasting, even coming under discipleship doesn't bring instant change and it doesn't fix everything instantaneously. It really depends on how deeply rooted the problem is. And by deeply rooted, meaning how long and how much you really were emotionally bound to whatever it is. It's the emotional bondage that's hard to break. So getting to dealing with your emotional problem to something, sometimes it's something you know you should do that you just can't get yourself to do because there's an emotional blockage there. Something you can't let go of because you're so emotionally attached to it. And so that's going to take time. But if you're persistent, these things will work out. But you got to be persistent and patient.
I also feel that we are missing older women teaching and discipling younger women. It would be nice to see this happen. It would have benefited me early in my marriage.
Okay, so we are, I keep promising this, but we have to get the older ladies and the senior ladies, by senior meaning the leadership ladies, to be willing to do this. They're so busy, it's hard to get them to sit down. I want to run them through a program first so that I've kind of shared with them what I'd like to see them do with you ladies so that they can then do a discipleship program. So, Melissa, you are so right. Scripture tells us that the older ladies are supposed to be sowing into the younger. And we don't have a structure for that. And it was easier to do when they lived in community because they were able to have easy access to each other. We don't have that at this time. So we are planning, I know I keep promising it, but as soon as we can get all the pieces to fall into place, we're going to make that available.
Just a little bit of our testimony recently, I think, kind of goes along with seeking counsel and prayer that, with this move that we just made and the prayers and the counsel that we got from you and from the other leadership at MTOI, but also we didn't expect, Yah to work directly through you for us in finding a place that that's kind of when you go through. I think it's when the Hebrews are in the desert and they're complaining to Moshe, and you always say, that they should have went to Yah, kind of directly. That when you take the proper steps and involve the proper leadership and prayers that everybody had for us, what we received was above and beyond what we could have expected, and it was just an amazing thing to experience firsthand for us.
Amen. So in other words, I'm just going to rephrase this real quick. When you understand the proper protocols and the proper approaches and the people you should go to and what order to do things, it works better. It works the way Scripture says it'll work. But you have to be willing to go through the right processes and understand what those processes are.